Welcome to the thread bullet tutorial. I'm Steve Fearson. This is the thread bullet, and this is how it works. The thread bullet is basically a spool of thread, a biodegradable spool, which I wanted to sell anyway, so it could be tossed in the trash when you're done with it. But I had this technique for attaching an elastic and turning it into a spooler for several years, and I've never shared it. With a lot of the recent developments in thread work and gadgets and things that have come out, in my opinion, it's taken away. It's tempting to sell a gadget, but they take away from the actual naturalness of the performance. They take away from your control of the object in exchange for convenience. I think this gives you the convenience that you need to still do the job right. You need to work with a static line. You don't want something attached to a mechanical, electronic thing that's telegraphing into your line and making things look bouncy or unnatural. You really need control when you do thread magic. It takes a lot of practice to look like it's floating, and it does take a static line, in my opinion. I'm also not a huge fan of the elastics. We do sell them, but for levitations, static line is where it's at. The thread bullet allows you to work with the static line. We have a piece of wax attached to the end of the bullet. I'm going to remove the wax and pull it away from the thread bullet, and what you'll see is that it unspools the thread underneath this little elastic that's on it and cleanly off the end. I'm going to let the bullet wiggle between my fingers. I hold it a little bit loose so it just moves a little bit. It allows for a better unspooling. And you can try this yourself. Don't waste a lot of your thread right now, though. It'll unspool smoothly. You can pull off many feet. If the faster you pull, the more this little rubber band is going to tend to walk down the bullet. And if it walks all the way to the end, it can come off and give you some trouble. So pull at a nice, slow, steady pace. Once you've done several feet, you're going to want to check your bullet. And if it's walking too much, you want to roll it back closer to the spool. It's not a big deal. If you break the thread and get it screwed up, of course, you're going to try to find the end. If you start feeling like you're having a bit of a mess, the nice thing about this is, since it's all open and outside, you don't have to put it through any holes or anything. You can just take the rubber band off. If worse comes to worse, make sure your rubber band's clean of any pieces of thread. Get the end of your thread there. And I'm just going to break it here so we can show you how to put this back on. Let's say we lost our everything and the rubber band got tangled, and there it is. So let's get our rubber band clean, make sure there's no thread on it. Okay? Make sure our spool's okay. If there's any excess thread, we just want to get rid of those few inches of excess, so we have just a few inches here that we can run towards the end of the spool and hold it there in our hand. So now I'm going to put the rubber band on. I'm going to put it on the back end of the spool. And a real easy way to do this is to, depending on how big your fingers are, you don't want to break your rubber band. But if you can get it on your fingertip and then touch your fingertip to the end of the spool and squeeze the two ends, that rubber band is going to pop right off onto the spool. Now I'm going to roll it over the back, backwards over the line, and I'm going to be careful that I'm holding the little piece, the weak strand, and then I'm going to stop and make sure that this is unspooling properly, which it is. I'll attach my wax right away. And when you attach the wax, it's important, especially with the vector line, when you start floating heavier objects, to roll the wax into kind of a weenie shape and wrap the thread the long way down it, and then turn it sideways and wrap the thread across itself. You want the thread zigzagging back and forth, and then I'll fold that little tube shaped thing and roll it again and back and forth. So you have thread going back and forth through the wax. I can't stress this enough. If you have trouble with the thread pulling out, this is what you need to pay attention to. So now we've got it working again, and I won't pull off too much thread, just enough to know that it's working. I'll wind and wind this down until we're back to the tip, and I'm just going to attach this like so, back on the tip. So I've got my bullet, and I'm ready to perform. I'm ready to take off, toss this in my pocket, case, whatever. Let's show you a little bit more of the functionality of the bullet before we show you a hookup or a trick that you can do with it. When you're performing, let's say you have a standard 2-point hookup, like you're going to do a floating bill, a lot of guys will be hooked to their shirt, say anesthetic or an object on the table. Let's pull off enough thread to do this, and let's say it's 2.5 feet, okay, exactly, or 2 feet 7 inches that you always use. And once you've got out to this point, got a little trouble, there we go. Once you've got it out to this 2 feet 7 inches, it's the perfect length. You know that you need that perfect length every time. The nice thing about this is it's going to remember your length. All you have to do is take it now and wind your single strand back around it. I'm holding the tip of the bullet and I'm just winding around the thread. Don't pay any attention to the rubber band. Yes, I came back over the rubber band. I'm on the outside of the thread now. And this is wound up snug, and you'll find you don't have trouble with this if it's in your pocket and stuff, as long as you keep it wound snug. It really manages it well, and it's on the outside so you can see how much you have left. You'll never run out of thread in front of your audience like you might with an enclosed system. And now I attach my wax to the back end of the bullet. Now this is when we're going to pull off a preset length. So the thread bullet has remembered our 2 feet 7 inches, whatever we're using. Now we can grab the thread from the back end when we're ready to perform, pull it off backwards, and it's going to stop right there. So it's remembered, it's allowed you to unspool exactly what you need and lock it automatically at the spot that you put into the memory, basically. So that's the functionality of the thread bullet. Now let's discuss a couple routines. The 2-point hookup is a standard hookup used for effects like the floating bill or the floating rose. The thread bullet allows you to get into the 2-point hookup easily. You can preset before you're going to perform. If you're feeling courageous, you don't have to do this, but this is all food for thought. I really encourage you to discover as many new things with this gimmick as you can. I have the thread bullet palmed. Now I can reach out for something from the table, make some maneuver to get my hand in close to where I want to hook up, and I'm just going to press the tip of the bullet against the surface, and as I come away, I'm unspooling thread secretly. The wax attached by itself, the bullet pulls away. Once I've got the length that I want, I'm going to just ditch this bullet underneath this armpit, just like that. It's on the outside of my shirt, it's right underneath there. So now I've got a traditional 2-point hookup. Normally it would go maybe from a button to there, or it could go from the mouth to there, from the ear to there. I'm going here. The thread bullet is attached or used as my anchor point, so I'm not messing around with any wax attached to my body or my clothing. Now I can feel the thread here. It's in a very easy to find spot under the arm. It's not out somewhere where I have to locate it. It's always right there. I can feel it against my arm. Okay. Lay the bill over the thread, fold it, I come in a little bit, and this is why static thread's so important. You can come in and you can adjust the tension on your thread. Twist it up. You've got a little ball now that you can levitate. And with levitations, as always, less is more. And just like that, blah blah blah. Now when you're done, you can retrieve your ball of wax and you're off to your next performance. I can go around with this palmed in a crack between my fingers here. I can have it on my thumbnail where it's concealed and just ready to perform now again. Or if I want to, I can attach it to my belt, to a button, or to the inside of a pants pocket. So now it's not going to get hooked on anything. It's a natural position to keep your arms down and keep that up there. It's got the rubber band on it so it doesn't want to slip out. And when you do want to get it out, you can just let it drop out and pull it up. And now I've got it concealed in my hand. And when I want to wrap it, I'll re-wrap it over the spool again, or over the wrap thread, and attach the wax to the back end of the spool. So now I can take my lunch break or do whatever I have to do, and when I come back to performing, all I have to do is grab my wax, pull off the back end of the spool this time, and I'm back set to the exact length I need, and ready to perform. This is a nice self-contained hookup. The bullet goes underneath the arm, so it's concealed. The thread right now is attached to a piece of wax. I'm using red wax, colored master wax, to match the playing card. But the thread, which is between my fingers, actually is going to run over the ear. And you can use your right ear, left ear, whatever you're comfortable with. This is going to replace a lot of hookups that use the ear, like the spinning card, hammer card. For instance, this could go around your body if you do this routine already. This way you don't have to have anything stuck to your ear. It's another birthday suit hookup. You don't have to have any special clothing or anything like that. Just pop this under the arm and you're ready to go. The over-the-ear hookup gives you a lot of control over your floating object. By moving the head, you can cause the object to move horizontally. Gives a nice look to the levitation. Now don't let the audience ever see the object wobble, bobble, bounce, dance. It has to be perfectly still, really, to create the illusion that it's actually floating rather than hanging from a string. Here's one of the coolest things you can do with the thread bullet, in my opinion. I'm going to pull off a length of thread, so you get a couple feet of thread, whatever you're going to use. And let's say I just want to do a hookup from like the shirt to the table, right? A traditional hookup. I'm going to use the cap from a Sharpie. The Sharpie marker we all know and love. Just the cap. The thread bullet goes into the cap, bullet side first, pointed side first. You have to give a little pressure and wiggle just a little bit. You don't want to overdo it and ruin your bullet if you plan on using it as a spooler again. And that locks it in there. So now you've got a clip that you can clip on your pants, you can clip inside your jacket, you can clip it on the edge of a notebook, you can clip it wherever you need to, or you can clip it right in your front pocket and use the thread right in the front, pretty much like you're used to with the more familiar hookups. And if you don't think that's neat, well, then you must not be as big a magic geek as me, because I think that is neato. Now, with a little imagination, you should be able to come up with a lot of different applications for these. It's just a nice way to dispense thread for any application. But here's something neat just to get you started. I have little glue dots that you can get in an office supply store. I'm going to stick one to the end of the thread bullet, and then I'm going to stick the thread bullet inside a thumb tip. We'll just jam it all the way down in there. Here's what I end up with. Let me grab the wax off the end. Hear that? It's the sound of silence. I'm unspooling thread out of the thumb tip. I can put the thumb tip on. This is actually a kind of rubbery glue. It moves around in there. It's very strong though. I can put the thumb tip on, have my thread trapped inside. I can do any of the familiar hookups. If I break it, it's going to break by the thumb or outside, and as this comes off I can pull out more right away to reset. That's just one thing. If I could come up with that, imagine what you could come up with. These are a few of the other products that we offer to enhance your thread magic, make your thread work easier. The first is the Master Wax. The Master Wax is the only wax that I recommend or is really approved for use with the Vectroline thread, because the Vectroline will hold heavier objects. The thread will tend to cut through softer wax. It's a nice hard wax. It also doesn't leave residue on things. We have a flesh colored wax that matches the fingernails. multicolors, red, blue, white, and black. You can mix the colors, the red and the blue for playing cards, black and white also for playing cards, credit cards, black and white surfaces, anything you want to attach to, and the black, which is just very popular for various black surfaces. We also offer the Vectraline and the John Haar thread in its raw state. It has to be stripped or peeled. The Vectraline has over 100 fibers in one piece, so by purchasing the thread raw and stripping it out yourself, you save a lot of money. If you've got the time to invest, or if you go through a lot of thread, you want to pick the stuff up raw. The Easy Strip thread, as opposed to the Vectraline is the strongest thread you're going to find. The Easy Strip thread is the most invisible thread you're going to find. The difference in invisibility is hard to say. I'd say get both and check it out. The Master Levitation System. Now this, if you're new to thread magic, you have to check this out. Actually, if you haven't seen it, you should check it out. I swear by the hookup. It's the hookup that's going to give you the best, the most realistic levitation effect and the most control over the object that you're floating. This is an hour and 45 minutes worth of material. It covers everything from the very beginnings of thread work all the way up to the most complex stuff you'd want to do, and floating rings, retraction systems, a lot of stuff on this DVD. And then it's got props inside too. It's got some fake, very realistic looking ice, a very lightweight, realistic lightweight fork. A lot of neat stuff in here. A couple different types of thread, wax. Lastly, I want to show you this. This is the web spinner by Amazing Jojo. This is a worker's prop. This is going to save you time. This is something where you can strip out thread in just a split second. Not in front of your audience, but you can reset in the trenches, just on the go. People love this thing. You're going to love this too. If you do any thread magic at all, you can do the Master Levitation System, the hookup and stuff, the Fearson hookup. You can do that with a web spinner. You can do a floating bill hookup with the web spinner. It's just a real go-to. It manages your wax too. It's just, like I say, it's a worker's utility device. Those are the thread products that you want to pick up if you really want to get the most out of your performances, have the best looking levitations possible. For more information on any of the products I've just showed you, contact your local dealer. Tell them Steve sent you.